guys, it's Michael, welcome back to the channel, and as you can see from the box, yep, it's new guitar day again on the channel, so let's crack her open and see what's inside. No gig bag. Okay, so in just a second we're going to have the big reveal. Okay, this should be enough. Let's see. Looks like it is. Alright. Everything's falling out, but ready? 3, 2, 1. Ooh. What have we here? Whew. Well, it's a little dirty, but... and it's definitely not in tune. It's going to need a setup, but... huh. I think pretty nice so far on the outside. Ooh, hey. Yeah, it's definitely going to need some work. Okay, so just a quick angle change, and then we'll be back in a moment. Okay, new angle achieved, and we're back with this little black beast, which is the Ibanez RVX200 Rocket Roll, which is basically Ibanez's take on a Flying V or even a Jackson Rhoads, as you can see from the offset body. So during the unboxing, you heard me say it's probably going to need some work. By that I meant it's going to need a good cleanup, and you probably saw how this pickup screw came out. So I'll have to take the neck pickup out and readjust that. And while we're there, it's definitely going to need some new strings. And I figured while I clean it up and set it up and restring it, maybe that'll be a good time to go through the specs of it and all that, and the history behind the Rocket Roll. So one more quick camera angle change and I'll be right back again. Okay, first order of business is to get these old strings off. So while I take the old strings off, time for a little history lesson on the Rocket Roll. Ibanez first launched the Rocket Roll in the 70s as their answer to the Gibson Flying V. As you can see, the original Rocket Rolls were based on the Gibson Flying Vs from 1958 and then later 1967. This made them one of the original lawsuit guitars, as Gibson threatened legal action against Ibanez, so they were eventually pulled and redesigned to look a little less like Gibson rip-off models. And in about the mid-80s, Ibanez began changing them up to look more like the Jackson Rhoads, with asymmetrical V-shapes. According to the Ibanez fandom wiki, the RVX220 here was introduced in 2005 as part of Ibanez's budget-friendly X series, and it also carried the offset Rhoads-inspired body style. This time slightly smaller than the Rocket Rolls of the 80s, a bevel added to the top part of the body for extra comfort while playing, and this interesting little carve on the tip of the top fork. Plus a little cutout by the higher frets, allowing for easier playability. The RVX220 has a solid basswood body, with a 3-piece maple neck with a 25.5-inch scale length, a bound rosewood fingerboard with dot inlays, and 24 jumbo frets. The electronics include the Ibanez Infinity 3 and 4 pickups in the neck and bridge positions respectively, a master volume and a master tone, and a 3-way pickup selector switch with chrome hardware. The bridge is Ibanez's full-tone 3 Tune-o-matic style bridge, and the tailpiece is the famous Quick Change 3 tailpiece. Okay, one feature about the Rocket Roll I really like is, even though it was introduced as a budget guitar, it still has the Ibanez Quick Change tailpiece, which means the strings just come up and out like this, rather than having to be inserted through like that, like you see on most stop tailpiece designs. There we go. Also, according to Ibanez fandom wiki, the RVX220 was replaced after 1 year by the RVX220DX. Presumably that means deluxe version because it added a pickguard and shark tooth fretboard inlays, but otherwise they were the same guitars. Unfortunately, even historically, Ibanez's Flying V-style guitars never caught on with players, and after the VBT 700 series in 2007, Ibanez largely stopped making Flying V-style guitars, in favor of their more established models like the RG, the S series, and more recent models like the AZ, the Alpha, and the reissued Iceman. Now the only extreme-shaped guitar they make is the X Standard model, or the XPT Iron Label models, based on their Xiphos model from back in the day. Okay, that's the old strings off, and now you can probably see just how filthy the guitar is under this kind of lighting, right? There's a bit of a scuff here on the lower point where the output jack is, and the headstock is pretty dusty and grimy. So, time to grab some cloths and some cleaning supplies for the rest of the job. Okay, looks like the headstock cleans up pretty nice. I'll try to put a before and after up, actually, in a second. But hey, that looks pretty decent. Might have to get some... Actually... Okay, I take that back. It's going to need a little more than just a quick wipe down. It was to be expected, if I'm honest, though, the way I got this guitar. Bought it off eBay. Couldn't see it in person at first. Couldn't test it out or anything. But looks like all the dust on the body is coming off nicely, though. Yeah, that scuff's not going to come out with any buffing, though. It'll have to stay there, but that's okay with me. At least it's not a total gouge where the wood is exposed, anyway. Okay, that's about as clean as I can get it right now. I'll try to go over it again later. But first, the real issue is resetting this little screw here. So we're going to have to take the neck pickup out. One screw, 3 more to go. Okay, with all the screws out, the neck pickup should come out. Oh, yep, here we go. Alright. Now you can see what the problem really is. It appears the upper screw here just came loose from its little tab on the pickup itself. So, let's just see if we can reseat it. It's a pretty easy fix. The hardest part really is just getting it lined up and staying put before you start tightening the screw down. Where's the screwdriver? Here it is. You notice I have my thumb at the bottom of the screw where it connects, and I'm feeling it just about touching my thumb right now. And once I feel it more on my thumb, like there, yep, I should be able to let it go, and there it is. Now it's staying. Now I just got to adjust the screw a little higher, just to get the pickup sort of out of the depths of hell. Just keep tightening and we should have this done good. By the way, now seems like a good time to mention that the Infinity 3 and 4 pickups are probably my favorite factory Ibanez pickups of recent years anyway, because my RG120 that you may remember from my testing new sets of Ernie Ball strings video actually has the same pickups in it. And they sound really good in that guitar. So I'm definitely excited to hear how they sound in this guitar, too. Okay, we're getting there now. Okay, and I'm going to have to raise the bridge pickup, too, in a second. But for now, at least we got the neck pickup nice and sturdy once again, with both screws holding it on. Now I'm going to screw it back in place, try cleaning it up a little more, then we'll put some new strings on it, plug it in and test it out, and then fine-tune the height of the pickups. So I'll be right back again. Okay, we're armed with some Dunlop Formula 65 cleaner and polish. Let's see if we can get a little more grime and dust off this thing first before I put the new strings on. Okay. Nice rag here. Okay, I probably used a little too much, but that just means we gotta wipe it down a little more thoroughly later. Curious to see if it works on this scuff here on the lower point by the output jack. Ooh! Ooh, and it actually, I think it has. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me just go back and do this. A little bit more. Okay, ignore the streaks here between the pickups, because I want you to focus on this point right there where I pointed out that big scuff earlier. It's pretty much almost gone. Almost completely gone after that. So I guess Dunlop does make a good quality cleaner. And now with the body cleaned, it's time to do the fingerboard. So start with Dunlop 01 fingerboard cleaner and prep, and finish with 02 fingerboard conditioner. I need to get a new bottle of this pretty soon. And as you can see from the rag I'm using for this, as you can see, this is my fingerboard rag. It's definitely seen some cleanings in its day, more than its fair share, that's for sure. So anyway, after you do the cleaner, You just wipe the excess off. And then you take the conditioner, which has an applicator pad on top, and then work this into each of the frets, like so. And pro tip, when you're using this, squeeze the bottle as you get to the higher frets, so you can make sure you get as much out as you need, because there's less wood to make contact with the pad, and you need a little squeeze to get the liquid out. And there we go. All the way up to the 24th fret. And preferably you'd use a separate rag to clean the excess conditioner off. I'm pretty lazy, I just use this one for the cleaner and the conditioner. I used to use a stain marker, an ebony stain marker, to stain my rosewood fingerboards a little bit. Make them look a little darker and less pale. I stopped doing that a while ago though, and this rag here is the only reminder I have that I used to do that. And as a bonus, the frets are getting nice and clean now too. Okay, so here's the fingerboard before and after. That's definitely a fingerboard to be proud of. So now we can go ahead and put some new strings on, tune it up, and do some final adjustments before the actual playing demo anyway, so I'll be right back. Also, while I was getting the old strings off, I noticed some of the tuners are a little bit loose, so I'll take my Music Nomad Octopus 8-in-1 tool here to tighten them all down. Just gotta figure out which size we need. Is it 1/2 inch? I think so. No, wait. Or is it 10 millimeters? It's gotta be that then. Ah, yes! 10 millimeters, okay. And the high, there we go. Okay, time for some new strings, and I'm going to use the Ernie Ball Ultra Slinkies 10 to 48, because when I first unboxed the guitar, it was not quite in tune, but it was close to E-flat standard. And lately I've been liking the Ultra Slinkies for that tuning, as well as drop C sharp, which is drop D down a half step. So we'll see how this guitar sounds and feels with Ultra Slinkies in that tuning, as well as normal E-flat. We'll bust open the strings now. There we are. Oop. Get it on both the posts. Now the bridge goes that way. It looks like the bridge might need an intonation adjustment later, but that's okay too. Whoops, whoa, whoa, whoa. And now as I put the new string in, you'll notice just how easy the quick change tailpiece is to restring if you can keep it in place on the guitar. There we go. Okay, compared to inserting the string through the tailpiece, you just put it in this groove right here. Then after that, you run the string over to the headstock and attach it like you normally would. So I'll do that real quick. Grab the power winder, and the tailpiece slipped loose again. Ooh, come on. Maybe I should have set this up on the workbench, but that's okay. And of course, once the first string is on, the tailpiece will definitely stay in place, because the string tension is what's holding it on. You really only need one string, preferably the lowest string, to hold it in place. So, after a quick edit, we'll be back with the rest of the strings on. Okay, 6 fresh strings on a nice, fresh and clean guitar. I also had to adjust the truss rod and the intonation a little bit, but I think I got the guitar playing pretty close to $1 million now. So that's just the camera's microphone. But let me plug into my audio interface, and then we'll change angles one more time so we can hear some clean and distorted samples of the Rocket Roll RVX200. Back in a second. Okay, I got the guitar slung over my shoulder now. It's time for some clean tones. Starting with the bridge pickup, both pickups, and then the neck. Here goes nothing. Okay, so based on the clean tones, you can hear that the bridge pickup is very, very crisp and bright. So much so that I actually have the tone knob dialed back a little. Here's a little taste of the bridge pickup with the tone all the way up. You'll hear why I actually have it dialed back. It almost sounds a little too harsh with the tone up full. So I actually dial it back to about maybe 6 or 7. I don't know, these knobs aren't numbered, so I just do it by ear. The neck pickup is very warm and articulate. And I also imagine it brightens up nicely with the tone knob cranked too. So now it's time for some distorted demos. I'll just switch the patch on my plug-in and be right back. Okay, distorted demo time. Bridge pickup, tone dial back slightly. Here goes nothing. Set with both pickups active and the tone all the way back, where we try to get the sound from Plug-in Baby by Muse. Let's see how far the RVX220 gets. Okay, you probably thought distorted tones would be no sweat for this guitar because Ibanez is known for hard rock and metal machines. And you'd definitely be right. The RVX220 definitely earns that bit of Ibanez's heritage for sure. Now let's put on some delay and try some lead tones. For the delay sounds, I'm going to be using a Boss DD5 digital delay in the signal chain. As you can hear, the Rocket Roll RVX220 is definitely a solid guitar for not a lot of money either. Not only does it look badass, it also sounds the part. Clean, distorted, with leads and with rhythms, arpeggios, you name it. This guitar can handle it. And it begs the question, why did Ibanez discontinue it after just about 2 years on the market? I guess because most players were so used to the RG, the S series, and maybe the Iceman, they didn't latch on to the Flying V or Rhoads body style much. They certainly didn't associate Ibanez with these shapes, after all. The radical shapes people knew Ibanez for were the Iceman and later the Destroyer from the 80s. Popularized by players like Paul Stanley, Phil Collen from Def Leppard, Darren Malakian, Jay Junger from White Zombie, and later Sam Totman from Dragon Force. None of them played a Flying V or something similar to this, actually. But if you can find one of these RVX Rocket Rolls, definitely snag it if you can, especially if it hasn't been modified like this. The Infinity 3 and 4 pickups sound great. Quick change tailpiece makes string changing a breeze. The neck is very comfortable despite being slightly thicker than most Ibanez necks. And despite being 21 years old now, this guitar just needed a setup after I got it to play like $1 million. So I hope you guys liked the video or at least found it entertaining. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss my next video. And until next time, rock on. Bye for now. Which is the Ibanez RVX. Which is the Ibanez RVX. Oh my god. It still has the Ibanez quick change. Okay. Oh, too small. Oh, there it is. Okay, note to self, pick out the right. Okay, there it is. Okay, and note to self, figure out the correct wrench size before you start rolling the camera, buddy. And I also had to adjust it. I also had to adjust it. Okay, so distorted tones. Okay, so you probably thought, okay. Okay, you probably thought that Ibanez, their most radical shapes, the radical Ibanezes that were known